Welcome to this year's Fintech Demo Drop. Who's excited to be here? Now, we have some crazy good innovation for you today. And here's how it's going to work. We've got 7 demos, 7 minutes each, all from this one stage. Now, last year's demo drop, I emceed it. It was really, really good. But I think this year's demo drop is going to be even better. Not just because we have some amazing speakers lined up over here, but because all of you are making up this audience. Now, here's the thing. The best shows have the most cheerful audiences. So I want to practice. I consider myself what you call one of those woo girls. You know, it's like, woo, always wooing. I love the hype. Now, I believe that all of you out here have an inner woo girl. So I want to practice it. I'm going to count to 3, and we're going to give our best friggin' woo to all the speakers that are lined up back here for you today. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Woo! All right, that was pretty good. Okay, all right, guys, let's go ahead and kick this off. I think we're ready. Now, coming up first is Finny AI. Finny AI takes the guesswork out of prospecting, helping advisors double down on their niche and grow effortlessly. From prospect identification to prioritization, Finny AI prospects on your behalf so you can sit back and relax. Finny AI, your 7 minutes starts now.
Hello, my name is Eden, and I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of Finny. I'm here alongside Victoria, who's driving over there. Before I tell you guys all about Finny, I'd like to take a quick poll of the room, just by show of hands. So raise your hand if organic growth was a key strategic priority for you in 2024. Okay, quite a few hands. Now, keep them up, keep them up. Now, put your hand down if you feel like you're not on track to hit those goals by the end of this year. That's what I thought. So for those of you with your hands up, you can leave. This is not for you. But for those that didn't, I think this might be quite interesting. So Finny is tackling what I have seen to be the most frustrating, inefficient process most advisors face, and that's organic growth. Starting with prospecting, we have heard time and time again that only about 1% of an advisor's cold outreach is actually directed at a qualified prospect. And the reason for that is because you're inundated with tools like ZoomInfo, PitchBook, Crunchbase that weren't built for you and with you in mind. And so you end up with this overload of information and not even sure where to go. And so we decided to build Finny. Finny reaches out to the right prospect at the right time on your behalf, essentially doing all the work for you. Now, how do we do this? 3 steps. Firstly, prospect identification. Finny tracks 300 million prospects and monitors them constantly for key life events like a recent marriage, a recent birth, or even a recent liquidity event. The second thing we do is run a prioritization algorithm. We've made up this thing called an F-score, short for Finny score. And I'll talk more about that shortly. But essentially, what that enables us to do is prioritize this entire database of 300 million prospects and find the few prospects with the highest likelihood of converting, specific for every advisor. Once we've identified those few prospects with the highest priority, we then run multi-channel outreach campaign on your behalf for them, all until the first meeting is booked. And so that includes email, LinkedIn, and even cold calling, while you just sit back and relax. Now, if this sounds too good to be true, here are the 4 things you need to believe for this to work. First, prospecting deserves its own solution. This is too much of an important problem to be using a generic tool that was not built with you in mind. Second, you need a solution that is working 24/7, even when life gets busy. We've heard so many times, oh, I meant to prospect this week, but the market was down, or the market was up, or my clients needed me, and I just didn't get to it. And so we built a tool that does all the work, even when you sleep. The third thing is that it's more and more important to be hyper-targeted with your outreach. The days of spray and pray, cold, generic outreach are over. For now, to get an interested response, you have to be incredibly targeted. And that's what Finny can help you do. And the last piece here is that personalization matters. As most of you know, Working with a financial advisor is one of the most deeply personal relationships that a person can go through. And so the entire process about choosing a financial advisor should reflect that personalization. How do you go about personalization hyper-targeted? Well, that's where our F-score comes to play. Our F-score is kind of like a dating algorithm that looks at your relationship history, but then also looks like information about a potential match, and then predicts that match. In this case, we look at your data that you've given us, we look at de-identified existing client data, and then we also bring together prospect data, all to predict a specific and unique pair between the advisor and the prospect, each one getting a unique score. Now, how does Finny actually work? Well, very simply. We do all the work for you. And so that means that if you're a customer of Finny, you can get 2 to 4 meetings booked on your calendar with a qualified prospect every month. And then you also get access to Finny Finder. So if you're ever curious and want to run a search yourself on our database, you can query our database using natural language. So you can literally say something like, hey, Finny, help me find business owners in Chicago between the ages of 45 and 55. Oh, and they recently got married. And we'll not only find the prospects for you, but then prioritize them for you and tell you who you should prioritize. Don't believe me? Let's just do a quick demo and show you how it works. On this screen, you can see what an advisor would see if they logged into Finny. The first page here is kind of like a feed built specifically for you. And so we've shown you the prospects we think you should focus on with the highest F-score, and then we also track recent events that you've told us act as catalysts before a client will convert. Then, if you want to run a search, you simply hit New Search on the left-hand side, and then you can run a search, and then live demo, and then you can run a search in natural language. We give you some suggestions, like, hey, help me find someone who recently moved, or even search by city, or zip code, or age. In this case, let's just do, help me find business owners in Chicago between the ages of 40 to 55 who recently got married. And let's see what it comes up with. So we're currently querying the database of over 300 million prospects, finding the few that match this search, and then prioritizing the results specifically for you. And so what you'll see in a few seconds is the top 4 prospects that have the highest F-score within this search. And so here you see these 4. And then if you wanted to see all the other results that come up, you just hit See All Results and see all the other business owners in Chicago who recently got married within this age group. Instead of having it go through all 20 leads, we simplify the process for you. Simply hit the one with the highest F-score to see some more information about them. If you open up the prospect card, you can see on the left all the information we have about a potential prospect. And so things like general information, like where they went to school, where they work, their contact information. But then you also have all this really cool additional information that can help inform the outreach. Things like their interests, in this case, investing, golf, traveling, their skills, their net worth, and even if they have a recent life event, we would track that too. If you scroll back up to the top, you also see we have access to their social media. And so you can hit their LinkedIn or their Facebook to get some more information and see if you have any mutual connections with them. On the right-hand side, we then generated a message specific for you between the advisor and the prospect. In this case, we start by congratulating them on their recent marriage, and then we go off to find similarities between both of you and how your unique selling proposition can be relevant to them. Well, that's all. If you want to find out more information about Finny, you can just join our waitlist here, or you can find me and Victoria throughout this conference and come ask us about Finny. Thank you.
Give it up for Finny AI. That was amazing, and it was live. All right, next up, we have Dispatch. Dispatch is the easiest way to collect, store, sync, share, update, and review client information across the entire advisor tech stack. Integrated with some of the most leading software, watch how Dispatch can help you open new accounts and onboard new clients in just seconds. Dispatch drops in 3, 2, and 1.
I'm Rob Nance, co-founder and CEO of Dispatch. I was an advisor for nearly a decade, and we built Dispatch to solve one of the biggest problems that I experienced. So we connect data across the WealthTech ecosystem. So everyone's probably familiar with the Michael Kitce's WealthTech map, and you probably use some of these solutions in your practice. But most likely, they don't all work together as much as you like them. So at Dispatch, we partner with firms to help improve their business workflows around data connectivity. So what are some ways that firms work with us? Well, the first is to streamline their onboarding for clients, and that could be for new clients they have or acquisitions of firms they're making, to send data to their custodian in a really efficient way. But at the core of what we do is keep data in sync across all the applications you use in your firm. Let's jump in the software and see what this looks like. So this is where you configure all of the integrations you have and all the tools you use at your practice. So today we'll select Schwab, Right Capital, WealthBox, and Box, for example. You can configure these at a firm level, at a home office level, at an individual advisor level. So once we have these configured, we're going to jump into WealthBox. And so this is a prospect profile in WealthBox. And what we're going to do is change this from a prospect to a client, and that's the trigger that's going to bring this into Dispatch. Now, with Dispatch, you can set whatever trigger you want. It's highly flexible to the way that you run your business. So let's hop into Dispatch. And we'll go to the Ready to Onboard section. And what we'll see is that this profile has been brought right in. And so we'll begin this onboarding process. So the first thing you'll do is look at your firm forms. So we digitize every single one of your firm forms, whether that's a new client intake, whether that's an IPS, whether that's a financial planning questionnaire. And so we'll start with our new client intake today. And then we'll move on to the custodial side. So what we haven't done is just digitize the custodial forms. The way we've built this is that you tell us what kind of accounts you want to open, and we'll tell you what data you need based on the information you already have in every connected system. So we'll go ahead and configure and build this profile. And the next thing we'll do is figure out how we want to get this data. Do we want to enter it as the advisor ourselves, or do we want to request the client to do it? So we'll do it as the advisor today. And what you see here are two sections. So one is the client profile. Think of this as your firm forms that exist. And the second is the custodial account application. And so as part of our firm forms, we required a document. And so today we're going to upload a driver's license. And not only are we going to upload it, but we're going to scrape data from it. And then we're going to put that data into the necessary section. And you can see the percentage of completeness has increased as we've done that. So as we go through, the key here is that we're never going to ask you for the same piece of data twice, whether it's in your own application or a custodial application. We're only going to ask you for it once and then bring all that information together. So we're going to complete this here and submit it. And so we've finished this profile. And now we'll hop back into Dispatch. And you can see the profile here is all the information that we've collected on this client. And so we can hop into the section where we talked about we're gathering custodial information. And this is really special here because we have completed the entire custodial account application. Every single field. We're the only firm that collects every field for you, up to preferences like account preferences, things like proxy voting. That's ready to be submitted to the custodian. And so what about the documents we uploaded? Where did those go? And so in this case, we integrated with Box. So we can come into Box, and what we did is programmatically sent both the custodial application and that driver's license to whatever field paths that you set, making it really easy to access those documents. So when I was an advisor, what would I do next? Well, I've gathered data, I've gone through, I've opened an account. What's next? Well, for me, it was financial planning. So we have Right Capital here. And what this meant for me was very swivel chair. I was going out now and re-entering all this data in my financial planning software. But when we reload here, what we'll see is all that data is instantly in our financial planning system. So we can get in and get started on actually doing the analysis. On the left, you see WealthBox. If you remember, top right corner, we didn't have birth date. Remember, we got that from the driver's license. So when we reload, we can see that birth date is added there. So what happens if a client calls you a week later and says, oh, my phone number's changed, for example, or any other piece of data has changed? Well, you don't have to go back into dispatch to make that change. You can make that change in any connected system. So we'll come into WealthBox here, we'll change the phone number. And when we hit submit, what we're going to do is make that change in every single connected tool that exists. So when we go ahead and we reload our financial planning software, you can see that that number has changed. So how do we keep track of all these changes? We'll hop back in the dispatch product, and you can see our change log. And so what we do is give you a record of every change that was made in every connected system by what user at what time. And so you can see the initial data at the bottom. That was the data that we brought in from the prospect profile in WealthBox. The second is the information we got during the onboarding process. And at the end, that's the change that we made in WealthBox. So we've helped a number of RIAs spend more time with their clients, less time entering data, and we would love to chat with you and share more about how we can do that. We're at booth 402. Please stop by and say hello. Thank you.
Good job. All right, give it up one more time for dispatch. All right, up next, we have Lotus Markets. Lotus Markets is the only fully automated online marketplace that allows buyers and sellers to match themselves to trade alternative and real estate investments. Operating like an exchange that lets you trade similarly to how you would a company stock, this will allow you to trade fast, simple, and super effective. So let's give it up for Lotus Markets.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be able to share a little bit about Lotus Markets. First, I want to be able to say, why did we build Lotus Markets? As she mentioned, we're the first fully automated stock exchange for alternative investments, but that largely came because of the growth of alternative investments. So, in fact, in 2014, only 30% of financial advisors were actually using alts in their clients' portfolios. Fast forward to today, about 70% of financial advisors are using alts in their clients' portfolios. This has created a tremendous increase in the actual assets under management for these alts. Just 4 years ago, there was 13 trillion of assets under management. Today, last year, 17 trillion, and it's projected by Preqin to be around 23 trillion by 2026. This accelerated growth came large in part because several major institutions started adapting alternatives for their clients' portfolios when historically they had never done that. A couple of reasons why they have avoided them was because, first of all, they were manual and inefficient, but secondly, and maybe even most importantly, it was because there was a tremendous lack of liquidity. And so what we decided to do was create, again, the first fully automated stock exchange for alternatives. So the team that built Lotus, my background has been almost exclusively in the exchange world. I was a part of a startup called Bats Exchange. Bats grew to be the third largest exchange in the world. And then I moved over to London, built Bats Europe. That's today the largest exchange in Europe. And then when we were bought by SIBO, I left and went to the New York Stock Exchange and then launched Lotus. My COO was the Chief Strategy Officer for Second Market. Second Market was the first stock market for private companies. Companies like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn were all traded billions of dollars across their marketplace and on a pre-IPO basis. So again, the team that we have has built many marketplaces throughout our career, so really want to be able to jump in and show you how that works. Today we have thousands of financial advisors buying and selling across our marketplace, as well as institutions and individual investors. We have some of the biggest funds listed on our marketplace, as well as small ones. You can see some of the names here: Blackstone, Apollo, Franklin Templeton, etc. And we trade pretty much every type of fund structure that's out there on our marketplace today. So I'll give you a quick demo as to a little bit about our marketplace. So the first thing you're going to do, go to our website. If you're a financial advisor, you can set up a username and password. And then once you do that, now it's really easy to begin onboarding your client. But the first thing you're going to see is our marketplace. Here's a list of all of the products that are available to trade. We're going to click on Blackstone's BREIT. We have more financial data about Blackstone's BREIT than they have on their own website. We created an AI tool that goes out, extracts all that information, and puts it graphically on our marketplace. So you can do diligence for each one of these funds if you're looking to be a buyer, or if you're looking to be a seller. But we also, in addition to all the financial data, show historical distributions and redemptions, et cetera. And the redemption piece for Blackstone specifically is why we listed it. You may recall that last year they were big in the news because they weren't able to meet all of their redemptions. In fact, you see that big dip right there. That was when they weren't able to meet those redemptions. So that's why we listed it on our marketplace, to be able to create liquidity for those looking for it. So we're going to jump right in, show you what it's like to onboard a client. It takes less than 5 minutes to do. You're just going to give us a little bit of information about that individual. We're going to start with getting information about where those shares are being held and what the fund actually is. So you're going to import this information. You can type it simply. If your company happens to have an integration with us, you can do all of it through API, and you don't even have to enter anything. You just go straight to the process of being able to provide the individual's pricing and that type of thing. So here, you're just going to go through and give some personal information about that person: name, address, social security number, because they are setting up an account. And so we do KYC AML on each individual client, but all that happens behind the scene. We're already at the point where we're now placing the trade. You can see all of the bids up at the top, and then you say, I want to execute at the best price. And again, you're a financial advisor doing this on behalf of a client. If you do not have the ability to sign on their behalf, what's going to happen is once you press continue, you're going to be taken to a page where you can review all of the information. At this point, you're going to press continue, and that's going to send an email to your client. Your client is now going to have the ability to receive this email where they can go in and review all of the information that you submitted on their behalf, assuming everything is correct. At this point, all they're going to have to do is click a few different boxes attesting to the information that was provided. And then once they do that, they're going to electronically sign their name. So again, nobody touches a piece of paper. It's all done completely electronically. If you're familiar with the alts world at all, you know it's very manual and historically has had a lot of paper. But Lotus has been in the media a lot. We have been covered by the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, Financial Times, Investment News. We've been on Bloomberg News. And so we've had a lot of coverage about the exciting things that we've been able to do. But we've also added some other things. So for the people that are the sponsors in the room, we've also created a fully automated process for being able to onboard, so raise capital for those sponsors, as well as manage those sponsors' investors, so manage their cap table. We're registered as a transfer agent, so we can do all of that, do their distributions, pay commissions, all of that kind of stuff that's done, fund admin work behind the scenes, and then we can, via API, connect to our secondary market, providing liquidity to them. So it really gives investors in the alternative investment world the ability to control their investment from the very beginning of fundraising all the way to the end with liquidity. So again, this gives you the opportunity as a financial advisor to take control of traditionally illiquid investments by trading them on Lotus. We have a booth, so you're welcome to join if you want to be able to talk to us a little bit more, but thank you again.
Great job. All right, thank you, Lotus Markets. How's everyone feeling right now? Are we feeling good? Okay, good. All right, up next we have Canopy. Canopy is an investing platform that changes the way money is managed with tax individualized investing for fixed income. With customized portfolios, a modern advisor experience, all managed at scale, this is an advisor tech platform truly unlike any other. Let's give it up for Canopy.
Thank you. My name is Eric Golden. I'm the founder and CEO of Canopy. And before that, I spent 17 years at Fidelity, first as a fundamental research analyst, then as a portfolio manager, where I managed money for some of the wealthiest families in this country, launched retail mutual funds, and started the fixed income SMA business, growing it from an idea to $18 billion in under 3 years. And during that time, the thing that I learned about all fixed income investing is that only one thing matters: after-tax returns. But we've already known that for over 80 years. We also know that the United States has one of the most complex tax codes in the world. We have 7 different federal income tax brackets. We have 130 different state income tax brackets. And that doesn't factor in alternative minimum tax and net investment tax. Beyond having the most complex tax code in the world, we also have one of the largest bond markets in the world at over $45 trillion. And that bond market is separated into separate components that are treated differently under the tax code. Some bonds are taxable, while other bonds are exempt from federal tax. A third series of bonds is exempt from state income tax, and a fourth series of bonds is exempt from federal and state income tax. So when you think about this, we have a complex tax code, we have a rich, deep bond market. You'd think we were building the most customized and advanced portfolios in the world for our fixed income clients. And yet, in the fixed income SMA industry, which is over $2 trillion, we essentially only have 3 products. You can build a bond ladder, you can build a intermediate SMA, or a core bond SMA. This has always driven me nuts. The equity guys figured out equity direct indexing and tax loss harvesting, and the equity guys can't even do math, like us bond guys. So why is it that we weren't able to revolutionize fixed income investing and it's still stuck in the 70s? Well, the reason is that equities aren't fixed income. While there are several thousand stocks in the world, there's over 1.5 million bond CUSIPs, and there's 100,000 created and destroyed every year. If I ask any of you the price of Apple, you'll all get it right. If I ask you the price of Apple's debt, you'll all get it wrong, because there are 63 different CUSIPs that make Apple's debt structure, and as of this morning, there were several hundred different quantities and prices you could trade them at. Which gets to my last point: trading stocks is easy. If you try to trade a bond, it's all over the counter, it's extremely labor intensive. So what would you need? Well, first, you would need an analytics engine that's capable of calculating millions of bond CUSIPs over thousands of tax personas. Then you would need an optimization engine that was able to calculate the right exposures for each client based on their risk and objective profile. And let's just assume you solve that math problem and you have the compute. You would then need an algorithmic electronic trading engine to execute in nearly real time to make sure you're able to build those portfolios as you saw fit. I have been obsessed with this investment problem my entire career. I've been fortunate enough to build a world-class team of engineers and investors to work on it. We've spent 2 years and invested millions of dollars to get to this point today, and I'm excited to introduce you all to Canopy's tax individualized investing. For the first time, we're actually going to build custom portfolios based on your end client's specific tax situation. Canopy is a simple and elegant web-based application that sits on the advisor's desktop. It allows you to build bond portfolios for your existing clients as well as prospects and demonstrate the value of fixed income and the impact on their portfolios. Everything in Canopy is white labeled to your firm. When building a portfolio, you start with personalization. You collect your client's federal tax rate, their state of tax residency, and whether they're subject to the alternative minimum tax or net investment tax. From there, we're going to customize the portfolio. And first, we'll begin with assets. No longer do you have to have a muni bond portfolio or a core bond. You can build multi-asset class fixed income portfolios in the same account. If you want to do single portfolios, you can do single asset, you can do that as well. You can then customize duration, and it's not just picking a short, intermediate, or long strategy. You can pick any interest rate sensitivity between 2 and 15 years that makes sense for your client. And finally, you can shape credit universe and liquidity to tailor the investment universe that Canopy scours bonds for you. With that information, we then optimize a specific portfolio across hundreds of thousands of different bond opportunities to figure out what is the optimal fixed income SMA for your end client. You can dive into credit ratings and see asset class and subsector exposure. You can see interest rate positioning along the yield curve and see what would happen to this portfolio under different interest rate scenarios. And finally, you can see taxes to show your client that we're not just focused on having some vanity gross yield, it's all about the after-tax income that they keep, as well as tax loss harvesting factored into every trade decision we make. We know that bond markets aren't static, they're constantly evolving, and it's a very dynamic market. As the markets change, your portfolio changes when we rebalance and determine what is the optimal portfolio for your end client. And we're just getting started. I've been overwhelmed and humbled by the early adoption of just a couple of months of launching this. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our founding partners, Ritholtz Wealth Management, Caprock, and Stokes. If you're interested in adding fixed income tax individualized investing to your advisor or investment practice, please reach out to me or any of my colleagues. Thank you very much and enjoy the conference.
Super impressive. Love it. Okay, everyone, this next tool is quite literally going to make you jump out of your seat. Jump AI is an advisor-centric meeting note-taking tool that will help you cut your meeting admin by 90%, literally. It's the only way to turn conversations into tasks, notes, and compliance records with secure AI. Jump, your demo starts now.
Hey everybody, my name is Parker Entz. I'm CEO and one of the co-founders of Jump Advisor AI. My co-founder and I had started other fintech companies in the past, and something that we really hated was putting our notes into our CRM. My brother's an advisor, my brother-in-law is an advisor, and my neighbor is an advisor, and we were talking with them about what we were building, and they said, putting our meeting notes in the CRM is literally the bane of our existence. And we've seen ChatGPT, and we've seen some of these other generic AI tools. Here's what we want. We want to be able to show up prepared for our meetings without digging through our old meeting notes. We want to just be present with the client and not worry about getting all of those little financial planning details down. And then after the meeting, we've got the CRM update. We've got to send a recap email to the client. We've got to wrangle all that financial planning data and all those action items. And we're spending just as much time outside of the meeting as we are in the meeting to do all that work. This is why we built Jump AI. It's already being utilized by thousands of advisors, including at some of the largest broker-dealers and RIAs in the country. Excited to show you what it looks like today. So we connect with everything, just like a normal assistant. You would expect your AI assistant to be able to work across your existing tech stack that you've already spent a lot on. So we connect with everything. The first step is we need to get the audio into Jump. And so we do that by connecting with all the virtual meeting tools. We also enable phone calls if you want to get the phone calls into your AI assistant. And we also enable in-person meetings through our mobile app and our desktop app. Whatever way the audio comes in, even if you've got somebody that still likes to dictate all their notes, we'll do that too. Get that audio into the meeting. And then within just a couple of minutes, the AI assistant is going to do a lot of work for you as soon as the meeting ends. First, it's going to figure out what kind of meeting was that. Was it an intro meeting, COI meeting, annual review meeting? Depending on that classification, it's going to run the meeting data through a series of summarizations, starting with the meeting note. What you see here in the middle of the screen is an AI-generated meeting note written in the voice of a senior advisor that captures all the data that you'd want to know from the meeting. Narrative summary, all the financial planning data, who's in the household, what are the personal facts you'd want to remember for next time you meet, what did you recommend, what fees did you quote. This is all available just minutes after the meeting is done. We also pull in all the financial planning data that comes out during the meeting, so you have that as a reference for yourself or for an assistant. And then to help make sure that your recommendations are aligned from a suitability or a fiduciary perspective, we also pull in anything that might affect, for example, time horizon. During this meeting, the client said, I'd like to retire 15 years from now. That gets pulled into the time horizon flag, and that becomes available in the note. This note is editable. Whenever you're talking about AI, it's important to keep the human in the loop so that you can check the note before it's finalized. So we have full rich text editing, so you can change anything you want in the note. And then the next step is we want to get that into the CRM so it becomes ready for your permanent record. We connect with your CRM, we pull the client list in, and then you're able to sync that note into the CRM where it's ready to go for when the SEC shows up for your next exam, and you can show them we have high-quality note for every meeting, every advisor. That's step one. Step two is we want to make sure we get a good email out to the client. The AI assistant is going to draft a follow-up email that's in your voice. You can load in examples. You can customize this however you want. Nobody wants their assistant to sound like an AI robot, so we make it possible to customize it to be just like you. That's going to get sent out through your normal email channel, so it's properly archived. Step three, action items. We're going to have the AI assistant listen for all the follow-ups and action items. For example, if you say, hey, it looks like your will is out of date, let's get you with an estate attorney so we can make sure and get that updated. The AI assistant is going to pull that in, create a suggested follow-up task, and then depending on your CRM, you can sync that in as a task, activity, or a case, or you can kick off a workflow if you're using, like, for example, a Redtail or a WealthBox. So that's step three. We also want to help you with before the meeting begins. And so we actually generate a pre-meeting briefing. This is going to go into all of your old notes, all those notes you've been kind of sticking in your CRM for years and years. We're going to go summarize that and bring it in and give it to you so that you can really nail that first 5 to 10 minutes of your next client meeting. It's going to pull things in like past concerns the client might have, who's in the household, what are the kids' sports or activities, and then my favorite is conversation starters. So we had one just a couple of months ago where it said, don't forget to ask about the new golden retriever. The advisor had obviously forgotten about that, but brought it up, and it really made the first 5 minutes of that meeting really great. We have a couple of other tools to help you review the data from the meeting. I don't know about you, but when I do 5 or 6 or 7 meetings in a day, I can barely remember the first meeting by the time the day's done. So one thing that you can do is if you see something in the note and you can't quite remember where that came from, you can click the explain button. This is going to get the AI assistant to show its work. It's going to go find the quotation from the meeting that led to that insight in the note, bring it back and deliver it. And if you really want to dig deep, maybe it was a very technical conversation, maybe estate planning, maybe some kind of annuity that had a lot of detail to it. You can actually click on the timestamp in that meeting. It'll take you back to that moment in the conversation where you or your team can play the tape back and see exactly what was discussed. This Ask Anything will also take open-ended questions. It's like a mini chat GPT that will answer any open-ended question that you might have about what happened during the meeting. For example, what were the client's concerns? It's going to pull that in, or any other question that you might need the answer to. We also want to help advisors learn from what's happening in these meetings. So this is our analytics feature. We're going to do things like tell you what the talk time balance was. If you've got an advisor that's in your office that's known for running long monologues, you can finally see what in the world they were talking about during all that time. If you're looking for opportunities for referrals, we're going to pull in sentiment. So times where the client was happy, grateful. We're also going to pull in times where the client was afraid or confused. Those are important to follow up on and resolve before we call it good, as well as keywords. On top of all of this, it's safe. We protect client data. We went and met with a bunch of former FINRA and SEC regulators to make sure our approach was good from the ground up. And again, this is being used by thousands of advisors today. I will just say to end, we're super excited to be here at Future Proof. We're doing something kind of crazy. If you sign up for Jump here, not only do you get an extra month free of Jump, so you have plenty of time to try it, we're actually giving away $1 million of AUM. So we can become your client if you sign up at Jump, and you can get $1 million of our venture capital investment that we raised earlier this year to manage. Thank you so much.
Great job. Love a good call to action. Clearly, these guys know what they're doing. All right, next up, we have financial. Financial is the easiest way to engage clients and engage other prospects, integrate technology, and grow organically, and get this, all from one branded app. Combining traditional wealth management tools with modern engagement features, get ready to meet the very first private social financial platform. All right, financial, take it away.
Man, it is good to be at Future Proof. So, got an important topic I'm going to discuss with everyone, organic growth. Everyone is talking about organic growth, but no one is talking about the crisis that's keeping you from growing. It's getting a hold of your clients. It's letting strangers know about your stuff. It's communication. My name is Tom Fields, CEO of Financial. However, I used to be an advisor. And the only reason I'm standing here today is because I was fired by my largest client. Now, the reason was pretty simple. It wasn't planning. It wasn't performance. It was I just haven't heard from you in 6 months. It was communication. But, Nate, you want to, 1 second here. So don't get me wrong. I tried a lot of different, you're probably thinking, wait, how did you just get fired? You know, are you not talking with your clients? So don't get me wrong. I tried a lot of different ways to reach my clients. I did in-person events. I posted daily on LinkedIn. I had a YouTube channel. I sent emails to my segmented list, which included that client that fired me. Now, the truth is that his perception was his reality. He wasn't seeing anything I was doing. Why? Because I was competing against algorithms, I was competing against ads, I was competing against spam, I was competing to get my clients' attention, and maybe you're feeling like this too. So everything changed when I was visiting a client who found success in the fitness industry because of two main reasons. He had an app that he could communicate with his clients, and he made it very, very easy for clients to refer him business. He was serving thousands of clients because he didn't have to compete for their attention. He owned it. No algorithms, no spam, no ads, just the right message on the right platform at the right time. Inspired, I brought this same model to the wealth management industry, and by the end of 2022, I went from advisor to WealthTech founder, helping some of the best names in wealth management grow their business. So I share this story because Financial was built to solve the biggest problem holding you back. We have a communication crisis. Simply put, it's really hard to let others know about our stuff. And if you actually want to grow, this should be terrifying because there are only two ways to grow any business. Number one, you can make your current clients more profitable, aka invest more dollars with you, or you can acquire new clients. That's it. Both require a conversation, but to have that conversation, you need to capture their attention first. Here's how Financial makes that happen. First and foremost, you need to realize that your clients and prospects are on their phones for an average of 5 hours per day. They are not spending 5 hours per day searching for your emails or looking at charts and graphs. They're spending that time scrolling through social media, texting, and building relationships. This is what they want. They want an app that is simple. They want an app that is secure. They want your brand on their phone. They want an app that integrates with your entire tech stack. So that means one login, one portal, one place to keep that client on track. We just had an advisor roll over $720,000 from an old 401k plan using an action item. Isn't it amazing that when clients are clear on what the next step is, work gets done faster and your business grows? How do we make our current clients more profitable? That is just one way to do it. Next, but what really makes our platform unique is the scroll. It's your own private scroll. You control it. It's how you can deliver the right message on the right platform at the right time when it matters the most. Last month, an advisor gained a $2.3 million client because of the impact his message had on the right platform, his app. It was the morning of August 5th. As we all know, markets looked bad. Clients were very anxious. This advisor pulled out his phone, recorded a quick video, and sent it to all of his clients and prospects at 9 a.m. right before the opening bell. It wasn't a mass email he hoped clients would read. It wasn't a day full of phone calls he hoped clients would answer. It wasn't a social post he hoped his clients would see. It was just the right message on the right platform at the right time. 2 days later, he gets one of these, notifying him of a client referral. All because a client decided to share this. So, and look, we can use AI, paid ads, fancy marketing to acquire new clients, but what if we made something that already works a little bit better? Think about it. Only 5% of your current clients refer you business, just 5%. Would it be crazy to say that instead of trying something new, we just improved our process and took 5% to 10% or 20% or more? The problem isn't client referrals. The problem is it's too hard for your clients to refer your business. So how do we acquire new clients? Make client referrals easier. At Financial, we believe the advisor's voice, your voice, can change the world 100 times faster than numbers or graphs. But we have to get away from email, and we have to be on one of these. Because the average individual picks this thing up 96 times per day, which is about once every 10 minutes, and spends 5 hours looking at this screen. You have to be here. It is that important, and we want to help you get there today. So much so that we want to put this in your pocket right now. I'm not talking about a sales call. I'm not talking about a demo. I'm just talking about an experience. Because in order to change the world, we need the power of your incredible financial advice buzzing the pockets of the right people at the right platform at the right time. You'll see there's nothing else like it. You'll see they're not like us.
Amazing job, Financial. Super innovative. Now, up next, we have Tax Status. Tax Status gives you comprehensive client financials straight from the source of truth, the IRS. It analyzes over 3,000 data points per taxpayer to surface advice opportunities specific to each client for hyper-personalized recommendations. All data gets delivered digitally without uploads. Now, Tax Status, you are last, but on this stage, there is no lease. Take it away.
The most official, accurate, and comprehensive source of client financials is the IRS record. It is the source of truth. You know this because you ask your clients and prospects for their tax returns. But what if there was a better way to get the data? At Tax Status, we provide frictionless access to your client and prospect financials. We provide continuous IRS monitoring and unparalleled planning insights you just can't get anywhere else, all via direct two-way integration with the IRS. Now, what's in this data? A lot. The source of this data is over 100 tax forms and schedules. You know these, 1099s, 1040s, 1041s, 706, they're all here. You know them for both personal and for businesses. So what's in that data? Let's dig a little bit deeper. It's a lot more than a tax return. Again, 3,000 data points per taxpayer, per tax period, for both individuals and businesses going back 10 years and forward 3 more for tax monitoring purposes. We can tell you about life events, who exactly got married, who got divorced, who had a child, where's Adam Nash? You want to know who donated money? We can tell you exactly how much they donated. We can give you personal financials, every single dollar of income your client or business earned. We can tell you where it came from. Every single bank, brokerage, IRA, HSA, all of the mortgages, they all show up in the tax info, and we can give you all of it. Business financials. For those, I know we got a whole bunch of PE and VC folks. We know P&L for every business every quarter. You don't have to guess anymore. We know balance sheets, we know business ownership, and we have insights galore across all of that data. Whether you want taxes due or penalties due, or whether you're flagged for an audit, we know this information because it's coming from the IRS. Now, all of this data is available via API. You can get all of it and put it in whatever insights engine or platform you want. You've heard a whole bunch of folks today that could ingest all of this data, but we do package it up in reports to make it a little bit easier. The tax return summary is going to give you all the key extracts you're looking for. We'll tell you who's on the return. We'll tell you how much they made, all the source of income by category. We'll even tell you insights, deductions, capital gains and losses. But the holy grail is the assets and liabilities report. This is the report. Imagine if you could get this from every prospect before your first discovery meeting. And you knew by each grouping here where all of the investment accounts are. We know custodian address, we know every account number for every account your client owns. We know all of the tax advantage accounts. We know the IRA balances from last year. You want to find the held away assets? Just pull this report up. We know where the trust income is coming from. We know business ownership and the allocated income for the percentage ownership in each. We also know real estate holdings, mortgages, and student loans, all there on one report. Now, I'm going to challenge everybody. I'm going to do the fastest demo in the West here today, right now. Here it goes. Client consent in under 30 seconds. This is how you get the data. Send an email, have your client click the link, hit continue, enter the last name and last 4 digits of their social. They can add other individuals as well as any businesses or trusts, and they e-sign. First name, last name, today's date, done. That was actually 11 seconds, folks. That's all it took to get permission to go to the IRS, get your client financial records from the IRS, and share that data with you. Now, many of you are going to want to use us for prospecting or for client onboarding. Now it's just a little bit longer because we have to ask some questions and complete KYC. So again, we're going to ask for those the same in the first, but now we're going to ask for first name, we're going to ask for email address, we're going to ask for the mobile number, social security number, date of birth, and their address on their last return. We need all of that information to confirm with the IRS they are who they say they are, and to make sure every box is checked to make sure we can get the information. Now we'd go through the KYC part. We ask for a copy of their driver's license. They scan it in with their phone or on their computer. Then we do a selfie check. By the way, when we bring in the driver's license, we're checking against OFAC, FinCEN, all the watch lists to make sure they're not on the bad actor list. And then we go ahead and do that selfie check to make sure they are who the driver's license says, and all of that checks. That's more security than any of you have in any of your processes today. Again, they e-sign. Now we went and got all of that data from a prospect. Now, some of you think, well, let me do this one first. If you want to make this even easier, put it right behind your client login on your website. All they have to do is e-sign in that case. For those of you on the previous one that said, oh, nobody's going to go through that process, we have one firm that has put 48,693 clients through that process this year using their Facebook campaign. 48,000. It's a big deal. Now, we find it averages, say, is about 26 hours per client, but if you want to make it a little bit even easier and you have a CPA on staff or you're partnering with a CPA firm, we can also leverage their CAF number and pull in all of that data instantly without requesting consent. Or if you want to upload that 4506 or 8821, you can do that as well. Once we get the consent back, which typically is in a few days or averages 3 to 4 days, but can vary based on the IRS workload, you can log in the system. When the records show up, you can see the client's status at the IRS, whether they owe taxes, have liens or penalties, et cetera. You can pull the reports. You can look at income by year. You can pull all the transcripts with all of the data underneath if you want. I would suggest you consume all that via API and one of the other great folks that were up here and put it in whatever systems you want. Whoops. Okay, so here's the big one. How are we future-proofing our platform? Well, we've actually built AI into this. We have not released it yet. But we can go in and ask a simple question. What's the tax status? It'll tell us how much they owe. We can ask, were there any life events? It will tell us what life events actually happened. In this case, they sold a business with $3 million in gain. We can ask if there are IRA accounts. Here they are. We actually know the account numbers as well. We can ask, what else should we talk about with the CPA or the client? And we will actually surface the value proposition of all of these different ideas. In this case, it recommended a qualified opportunity zone where they could defer the gains and get $2.1 million in additional tax savings. That's significant. We hope to launch this in the fall. We're completely secure, and the use cases are endless. I will tell you right now, tax monitoring should be number one. 272 million people had their Social Security numbers violated this year. They can access it right in our system. If you want to talk more, last but not least, and I know I'm over, the last demo is I will let all of you go through and request your own tax records and actually get those 2 reports for yourself. Scan the QR code, come by and visit us at 616. Thank you.
Awesome job.
Drop it.
I want to drop it too. Everyone, what an amazing show. Let's give one last huge round of applause for this year's FinTech Demo Drop participants.